My beloved child, pause for a moment and listen carefully. You did not come across these words by accident. There are moments in life when heaven seems silent, when your prayers appear to disappear into the darkness, and when you begin wondering whether God still sees what you are going through. But I want you to know that silence does not mean abandonment. Just because you cannot see movement does not mean nothing is happening. There are things being prepared beyond what your eyes can understand, and there are chapters of your story that have not yet been revealed. You have carried more than most people know. You have smiled when your heart was tired. You have encouraged others while secretly wishing someone would encourage you. There were nights when you lay awake thinking about the same problem again and again, wondering how everything could possibly change. You remembered the doors that closed, the people who walked away, the promises that were broken, and the dreams that slowly became difficult to believe in. Yet somehow, even after all of that, a small part of you continued to hope. That small part of you is precious, because it reminds you that your story is not finished. My child, do not measure my faithfulness by your present circumstances. What you see today is only one page of a much larger story. A delay is not always a denial. Sometimes the season that feels like the longest season is the very season in which your character is being strengthened, your faith is being deepened, and your direction is becoming clearer. You may not understand why certain opportunities disappeared or why certain relationships ended, but one day you may look back and realize that some of those closed doors were actually protection. I have seen every tear you tried to hide. I have heard the prayers you could barely speak. I have seen you continue when you felt like giving up. I have seen the moments when disappointment made you question your own worth. And I want you to remember this. Your difficult season does not define your identity. Your mistakes do not erase your purpose. Your past does not have the authority to determine your future. There is still life in the dreams you buried because you were afraid of being disappointed again. There is still strength inside you, even if you do not feel strong today. The pain you experienced may have changed you, but it does not have to destroy you. I can use even the broken pieces of your story to create something meaningful. What looked like an ending can become the beginning of a completely different chapter. So stop telling yourself that you have been forgotten. Stop comparing your journey with someone else's timeline. Their blessing is not proof that you have been overlooked. Their chapter is not your chapter. I know the road you have walked, the battles you have faced, and the things you have carried quietly. Your journey has been different because your story is different. Take a deep breath and release the fear that tomorrow will simply repeat yesterday. You are allowed to believe again. You are allowed to hope again. You are allowed to pray again, even for the things you stopped mentioning because disappointment became too painful. My beloved child, the season of preparation is teaching you something that success alone could never teach you. It is teaching you patience, discernment, courage, compassion, and deeper trust. When the right door opens, you will understand why you had to become the person you are becoming now. Do not give up at the very moment when your heart is learning to trust again. Keep walking, keep praying, keep believing. You may not see the complete picture yet, but the story is still being written. What feels uncertain today can become the testimony you never imagined you would share. Your tears are not the end of your story. Your waiting is not wasted. And the chapter ahead can hold more hope, peace, purpose, and restoration than you presently realize. My beloved child, there is something you must understand about the season you are walking through. The things that have been delayed have not necessarily been denied. There are moments when you look around and see no evidence of change, yet beneath the surface, circumstances can be shifting in ways you cannot yet recognize. You've been asking when your prayers will finally receive an answer. But perhaps the greater question is whether you are ready to recognize the answer when it arrives. You have spent enough time looking backward. I know the memories that still hurt you. I know the words spoken against you, the rejection that made you question yourself, and the disappointment that caused you to protect your heart. You learned to expect less because expecting more seemed dangerous. You stopped dreaming as boldly as you once did because every disappointment felt like another wound. But my child, do not allow yesterday's pain to become tomorrow's prison. What happened to you was real, but it does not have to control what happens next. You cannot change the decisions of people who hurt you, but you can decide that their actions will no longer determine your future. You cannot rewrite yesterday, but you can place tomorrow in my hands. The chapter behind you may contain pain, but it does not have the authority to write the final chapter of your life. There are things I am teaching you through this waiting season. I am teaching you to recognize what is genuine and what only looks good from a distance. I am teaching you that not every open door is the right door, and not every closed door is a punishment. Some doors had to close because they were leading you somewhere you were never meant to remain. Some relationships had to end because they were keeping you attached to an identity you had already outgrown. You wanted immediate answers, but sometimes clarity comes gradually. You wanted everything fixed at once, but restoration often begins with one small change, one new opportunity, one conversation, one decision to rise again. Do not despise small beginnings. A tiny spark can become a fire. A single step can begin an entirely new journey. One moment of courage can change the direction of years. My child, you have been stronger than you realize. Think about all the moments you thought you could not continue, yet you continued. Think about the nights when you cried and still woke up the next morning. Think about the disappointments that could have hardened your heart, yet somewhere inside you, compassion remained. That is evidence that your story has not been destroyed by what you endured. Do not confuse exhaustion with failure. Sometimes you are simply tired from carrying something for too long. Rest does not mean you have surrendered. Taking a breath does not mean you have stopped moving forward. You are allowed to pause, gather your strength, and begin again. And now I want you to release the fear of being left behind. Your life is not a race against everyone around you. You do not need to achieve everything at the same speed as someone else. Their timeline cannot cancel yours. What belongs in your life will not require you to become someone you are not. There is a new confidence being formed within you. You are beginning to understand that your worth was never determined by someone's approval. You are beginning to see that rejection can redirect you. Disappointment can refine you, and waiting can prepare you for something greater than what you originally imagined. So when you encounter another difficult day, do not immediately assume that nothing is changing. Keep your heart open. Pay attention to the opportunities that appear unexpectedly. Notice the conversations that bring clarity. Notice the ideas that return after you thought you had abandoned them. Sometimes restoration begins quietly before it becomes visible. My beloved child, you have asked me for a sign that your prayers have not been forgotten. Let this be your reminder: you are still here. You are still capable of hoping. You are still capable of loving, believing, creating, and beginning again. The fact that you survived what once seemed impossible is already evidence of strength. Do not give your past permission to predict your future. Lift your eyes beyond what is happening today. There are possibilities you cannot yet see, connections you have not yet made, opportunities you have not yet encountered, and answers that may arrive in ways you never expected. Your responsibility is not to understand every detail. Your responsibility is to keep moving with faith, wisdom, and courage. The road ahead may not be perfect, but it can be meaningful. There may still be challenges, but you will not face them as the same person who entered this season. You have learned, you have grown, you have endured, and now you are becoming ready for what comes next. So wipe away the belief that your best days are behind you. They are not. Your story is still unfolding,
And what you thought was the final page may simply have been the end of one chapter.
Keep walking, my child. Keep trusting. Keep believing that restoration can begin in places where you once saw only ruins. The future is not required to look like your past. My beloved child, there comes a moment when you must stop asking why the road has been so difficult and begin asking what this journey has prepared you to become. You have survived seasons that once seemed impossible to survive. You have walked through disappointment, uncertainty, rejection, and waiting. Yet you are still standing. That alone should remind you that your story has not ended. There is still purpose ahead of you. For a long time, you have been looking for visible evidence before allowing yourself to believe again. You wanted the answer to arrive before you allowed your heart to rest. You wanted proof that things would change before you dared to hope. But faith often begins before circumstances change. Sometimes the first miracle is not what happens around you, it is what begins happening within you. A heart that once expected disappointment begins expecting possibility again. A mind that was consumed by fear begins becoming peaceful. A person who once felt powerless begins realizing that they still have choices. My child, do not underestimate what is happening inside you right now. The healing of your heart may not make headlines, but it matters. The return of your confidence may look small to others, but it is significant. The moment you decide to pray again after feeling unheard for so long is significant. The moment you forgive yourself for a mistake you have carried for years is significant. Restoration does not always arrive like thunder. Sometimes it begins like a quiet sunrise. You have been asking for a complete transformation, but I want you to notice the small changes along the way. Perhaps you are no longer willing to tolerate what once drained you. Perhaps you have begun recognizing people who genuinely value you. Perhaps an old dream has started returning to your thoughts. Perhaps you suddenly feel motivated to learn something new, start something again, or make a decision you kept postponing. Do not ignore these moments. They may be signs that you are becoming ready for a different chapter. There are seasons when I remove distractions because I want you to see what truly matters. You may have mistaken isolation for punishment, but sometimes solitude gives you the space to hear what noise prevented you from hearing. You may have thought certain delays were wasting your time, yet those delays may have protected you from choices you would later regret. You wanted to move quickly, but wisdom often asks you to move carefully. My beloved child, do not return to places simply because they are familiar. Familiar pain is still pain. Familiar disappointment is still disappointment. You cannot step into a new chapter while constantly reopening the pages that wounded you. There is a difference between remembering your past and living inside it. Learn from what happened, but do not build your home there. You are allowed to outgrow old versions of yourself. You are allowed to change your priorities. You are allowed to establish boundaries. You are allowed to walk away from conversations that destroy your peace. You are allowed to say no without feeling guilty. You are allowed to believe that your future can be healthier than your past. And when something good finally begins to appear, do not sabotage it because you are afraid it will disappear. You have become so accustomed to disappointment that sometimes you expect every blessing to come with a hidden price. But not everything good is temporary. Not every opportunity is a trap. Not every person who approaches you intends to hurt you. Ask for wisdom, move carefully, and allow yourself to receive what is good without constantly waiting for it to collapse. My child, there are opportunities ahead that will require courage. You may have to step outside what is comfortable. You may have to make a decision without having every detail figured out. You may have to trust that you can learn as you go. Do not wait until fear completely disappears before moving forward. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is refusing to let fear make every decision for you. Remember how many times you thought you would never recover, yet somehow you did. Remember how many doors closed and how many times you believed there was nowhere else to go, yet another path eventually appeared. Your history is filled with evidence that difficult moments can change. The same God who carried you through yesterday can give you strength for tomorrow. So lift your head, my beloved child. Your life is not defined by the years you lost, the people who rejected you, or the opportunities that passed you by. Your value did not decrease because someone failed to recognize it. Your purpose did not disappear because one season was painful. And your future is not limited by the mistakes of your past. There is still more to learn, more to experience, more to build, more to give, and more to become. Do not allow one painful chapter to convince you that the entire story will be painful. Keep your heart open to unexpected possibilities. Keep your spirit willing to begin again. Keep walking with patience, because sometimes the greatest changes begin long before anyone else can see them. My child, what you have been waiting for may not arrive exactly as you imagined. It may come through a different person, a different opportunity, a different place, or even a completely different direction. Do not become so attached to one specific answer that you miss the answer when it arrives in another form. Trust the process. Release the need to control every detail. Let go of the fear that says everything must happen immediately. Your life is not falling apart simply because you do not understand every moment. Some things become clear only after you have walked far enough to look back. The chapter ahead will require a different version of you. One who knows their worth, protects their peace, learns from the past, and still believes in the possibility of good things. Become that person one day at a time. You do not have to have everything figured out today. Just take the next faithful step. And when you look back one day, you may realize that the season you once called a delay was actually preparation. The closed door was protection, the loneliness was refinement, and the tears were watering the ground from which something beautiful eventually grew. Your story is still being written, my beloved child. Do not put a period where heaven has placed a comma. My beloved child, you have come farther than you realize. There were moments when you believed the weight on your shoulders would never become lighter, yet here you are. There were days when you wondered whether your prayers were making any difference, but even during those quiet seasons, something was being formed within you. You were learning endurance when you wanted immediate answers. You were learning patience when you wanted movement. You were learning to trust when you had no visible evidence to support your hope. Do not look at your current circumstances and conclude that nothing is changing. Some of the most important changes begin where human eyes cannot see them. A seed does not announce itself while it is beneath the soil. For a while, the ground looks exactly the same. Then, slowly, something begins to break through. Your life can be like that. You may see ordinary days, unanswered questions, and unfinished situations, while beneath the surface new possibilities are beginning to take shape. My child, there are things you have asked for that may not arrive in the form you expected. You prayed for one door, but I may lead you toward another. You asked for one person to return, but I may introduce you to people who treat your heart with the care you once thought you could never receive. You asked for one opportunity, but another may appear that fits your purpose even better. Do not limit your hope to one specific outcome. Leave room for me to surprise you. You have spent too much time believing that you must understand everything before taking the next step. You do not. You only need enough light for the step in front of you. When you take that step, another becomes visible, then another. That is how many journeys unfold. You do not need the entire map today. There will be moments when old fears return. You may hear the voice that tells you nothing will ever change. You may remember the people who doubted you. You may think about previous failures and become afraid of trying again. When that happens, remember your history. You have already survived things you once believed would destroy you. You have already walked through seasons that once looked impossible. Do not let temporary fear erase permanent lessons. My beloved child, your greatest battle may not be against what is happening outside you. It may be against the belief that you are not capable of receiving something better. Disappointment can teach the heart to expect disappointment. Rejection can make you believe rejection is all you deserve. Failure can convince you that trying again is foolish. But those beliefs are not facts, they are wounds speaking. Begin separating what happened from who you are. Someone leaving does not mean you are unlovable. A failed opportunity does not mean you are incapable. A financial struggle does not mean you will always struggle. A difficult season does not mean your entire life will remain difficult. A mistake does not make you a mistake. You are still growing, and growth requires patience. Give yourself permission to become stronger without demanding perfection from yourself. You do not have to heal every wound in one day. You do not have to solve every problem in 1 week. You do not have to know exactly where you will be a year from now. Focus on what you can do today. Pray today. Work today. Forgive today. Learn today. Take care of your heart today. And when the opportunity you have been waiting for finally appears, be prepared to recognize it. Sometimes the answer comes quietly. It may look like a conversation, an invitation, an idea, a new connection, a job opening, a creative thought, or an unexpected chance to begin again. Do not dismiss something simply because it does not look dramatic enough. Some life-changing moments begin as ordinary opportunities. My child, wisdom will be important in the season ahead. Do not chase everything that shines. Not every opportunity is meant for you. Not every person deserves access to your heart. Not every invitation requires a yes. Ask whether something brings you closer to peace, purpose, integrity, and growth. Learn to recognize the difference between excitement and genuine direction. You have also been carrying guilt over things you cannot change. Release it. You can learn from your past without continuously punishing yourself for it. If you made mistakes, acknowledge them, make amends where possible, and grow from them. But do not spend the rest of your life serving a sentence that was never meant to be permanent. Your future needs your attention more than your past does. My beloved child, there is still a beautiful portion of your story ahead. You have not missed every opportunity. You have not reached the end. You are not too old, too late, too broken, or too far behind to begin again. The path may look different from what you imagined years ago, but different does not automatically mean worse. Sometimes the unexpected road leads to the destination you could never have reached through the path you originally wanted. So keep your heart open. Keep your eyes attentive. Keep your faith alive. Let the disappointments of yesterday become wisdom instead of chains. Let the waiting season become preparation instead of bitterness. Let the wounds become reminders of how far you have come instead of predictions of what will happen next. The story is moving forward even when the page looks quiet. Your next chapter does not need to resemble the chapter before it. You can begin again with greater wisdom, deeper faith, and a clearer understanding of what truly matters. And when the time comes, you will realize that some of the things you thought were not lost forever. Some were being transformed, some were being redirected, some were making room for something new. Do not give up now, my child. You have already survived the part that tried to convince you there was no future. Now lift your eyes and prepare your heart for what comes next. There is still purpose ahead, there is still work for you to do, and there are still blessings in life you have not yet experienced. Keep walking. The story is not over. My beloved child, you are entering a season where you must stop looking at yourself through the eyes of your past. You have spent enough time remembering who you were when you were wounded, rejected, disappointed, or afraid. But you are not required to remain that person. Every season teaches something, and now the lessons you have gathered are becoming wisdom that can guide you into what comes next. There were moments when you thought your opportunities had passed. You watched other people move forward while you felt as though your own life had been placed on pause. You saw people receive the things you had prayed for, and sometimes you wondered why their doors opened while yours remained closed. But comparison has a way of making you forget your own journey. You cannot judge your future by looking at someone else's timeline. My child, what is meant for you does not need to arrive through someone else's life. Their success does not reduce your possibility. Their blessing does not mean your portion has disappeared. There is enough purpose ahead for you to walk your own path without constantly measuring yourself against another person. I want you to release the belief that you have missed your moment. You may have made mistakes. You may have taken wrong turns. You may have wasted time. But wasted time does not mean wasted life. Even difficult experiences can teach you lessons that become valuable later. You know things now that you could not have understood years ago. You recognize warning signs that once looked harmless. You understand people differently. You understand yourself differently. That knowledge matters. There is a reason you survived the seasons that tried to break your confidence. You learned how to stand when support disappeared. You learned how to continue when encouragement was absent. You learned that your strength cannot always depend on other people's approval. Those lessons will serve you in the days ahead, my beloved child. The next chapter will require you to trust yourself again, not blindly but wisely. You must begin listening to the quiet voice inside you that tells you when something is right and when something is not. You have ignored that inner warning before because you wanted certain relationships or opportunities to work. You accepted less than you deserved because you were afraid that saying no would leave you alone. But loneliness is not always worse than staying somewhere that destroys your peace. Protect what is growing inside you. Not everyone needs access to your dreams. Not everyone will understand your vision. Some people may only recognize the version of you that benefited from your lack of boundaries. When you begin changing, they may question you. Let them. You do not need everyone's approval to grow. There will also be moments when you feel tempted to return to what is familiar simply because the future feels uncertain. Remember this. Familiarity does not always equal safety. Sometimes the familiar place is exactly where you became exhausted. Do not return to an old environment merely because a new one feels uncomfortable. You are allowed to choose peace. You are allowed to choose growth. You are allowed to choose a future that does not repeat your past. My child, I know you still have questions about finances, relationships, family, purpose, and the direction of your life. You want everything settled immediately. But do not allow urgency to push you into decisions that wisdom would reject. When you are desperate for change, even the wrong opportunity can look like an answer. Slow down, think carefully, pray, seek wise counsel, then move forward with confidence. The restoration you desire must also include your peace. What good is gaining something you prayed for if you lose yourself while obtaining it? What good is reaching a destination if your heart is constantly filled with fear? I want you to understand that true restoration is not merely about receiving more. It is about becoming whole enough to enjoy what you receive. Your future should not be built on anxiety. It should be built on wisdom, faith, discipline, and gratitude. My beloved child, there are things coming into your life that will challenge the way you think about yourself. An opportunity may appear that makes you realize you are more capable than you believed. A person may enter your life who treats you with respect and reminds you what healthy connection feels like. An idea may return that you abandoned years ago. A door may open that gives you another chance to use gifts you thought were no longer valuable. When these moments come, do not immediately tell yourself that you are unqualified. Do not reject yourself before anyone else has the opportunity to accept you. Apply, try, speak, create, begin. Let the answer come after you have taken the step. You have spent too much time waiting for confidence to arrive before acting. Sometimes confidence is created by action. You become confident because you tried, learned, failed, adjusted, and tried again. So take the next step, not the entire journey, just the next step. My child, remember that restoration can happen gradually. You may not wake up one morning and find every problem solved, but you may wake up with a different mindset. You may notice that the same thing that once terrified you no longer controls you. You may discover that you can finally talk about your past without feeling trapped inside it. You may realize that you have stopped waiting for someone else's apology before allowing yourself to move forward. That is restoration too. Healing is not always the disappearance of the memory. Sometimes healing is remembering without being destroyed by what you remember. You are becoming stronger in ways that cannot be measured by money, possessions, or status. Your patience is stronger. Your discernment is stronger. Your understanding is deeper. Your heart is learning when to give and when to protect itself. And now, my beloved child, prepare yourself to receive the next chapter with maturity. Do not chase what is leaving. Do not beg people to stay where they have already chosen to go. Do not force doors that repeatedly refuse to open. What requires constant desperation may not be where your peace is waiting. Walk forward with dignity. What is truly aligned with your purpose will not require you to destroy yourself to keep it. Your past taught you what pain feels like. Your present is teaching you how to heal. And your future can teach you what it means to live with purpose again. So keep going, my child. There is more ahead than what you can currently see. The disappointments did not cancel your destiny. The delays did not erase your purpose. The closed doors did not end your journey. They simply changed the direction. And sometimes the changed direction is exactly what leads you to the place you were meant to be. My beloved child, as you move forward, I want you to understand that your story is not defined by the chapters that hurt you. You are not the rejection you experienced. You are not the mistake you made. You are not the opportunity you lost. And you are not the season that left you feeling forgotten. Those moments were part of your journey, but they were never the final destination. There is still purpose ahead of you. You may not see the entire picture yet, but you do not need to see everything before taking another step. Sometimes faith means moving forward with only enough light to see what is directly in front of you. You have asked for clarity, but often clarity comes after obedience, after patience, and after you are willing to move without having every answer. My child, stop allowing uncertainty to convince you that nothing is happening. Just because you cannot see movement does not mean there is no progress. Seeds grow beneath the soil long before anything appears above the surface. In the same way, some of the greatest changes in your life may begin quietly. Your character is being strengthened. Your wisdom is increasing. Your priorities are changing. Your heart is learning to recognize what deserves your energy and what no longer deserves your attention. Do not underestimate these quiet transformations. There was a time when you would have chased people who were running away from you. There was a time when you would have begged for attention, accepted disrespect, or compromised your peace just to keep someone in your life. But now you are beginning to understand that losing someone is not always a loss. Sometimes separation creates space for healing, growth, and healthier relationships. You do not have to convince anyone of your value. The right people will not require you to constantly prove that you deserve respect. The right opportunities will not demand that you abandon your principles. And the right path will not require you to become someone you were never meant to be. My beloved child, there will be days when you feel strong and days when you feel tired. Do not condemn yourself on the tired days. Rest does not mean you have failed. Pausing does not mean you have surrendered. Sometimes rest is preparation for the next movement. Give yourself permission to breathe. You have carried responsibilities that no one else fully understood. You have smiled while fighting battles privately. You have continued even when your heart wanted to give up. I have seen every quiet effort, every moment when you chose not to quit, every time you started again after disappointment. You may think those small acts meant nothing, but they were building something inside you. Now I want you to stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and begin asking, "What can I learn from this? And how can I use it to become wiser?" Your pain does not have to be wasted. The lessons you gained can become compassion. Your failures can become wisdom. Your waiting can become patience. Your disappointments can teach you discernment. And your difficult seasons can prepare you to appreciate the blessings you once thought would never come. My child, do not let fear make decisions for you. Fear will tell you to stay where you are because at least the familiar pain feels predictable. Fear will tell you that you are too late, too inexperienced, too broken, or too far behind. But those voices do not deserve control over your future. You are still capable of beginning again. If there is something you have been called to pursue, take the first step. If there is a conversation you need to have, approach it with wisdom. If there is a habit you need to release, begin today. If there is a dream you buried because of disappointment, allow yourself to look at it again. You do not need to rebuild your entire life in one day. One decision can change your direction. One boundary can protect your peace. One opportunity can reopen your confidence. One act of courage can remind you that you are stronger than you thought. And one faithful step can lead you into a future you could not have planned by yourself. My beloved child, remember that your future does not need to look like your past. You can break patterns, you can make healthier choices, or you can become more disciplined. You can forgive without returning to harmful situations. You can love people without losing yourself. You can be kind without allowing others to take advantage of you. You are allowed to become different. Some people may not recognize you when you stop behaving according to the version of you they were comfortable with. Let that happen. Growth often makes old environments uncomfortable because the person you are becoming no longer fits inside the limitations of who you used to be. Do not shrink yourself to make someone else comfortable. Walk forward. Keep your heart humble, but keep your boundaries strong. Stay grateful, but do not settle. Remain compassionate, but do not ignore wisdom. Have faith, but also take responsibility for the choices you make. My child, there will come a moment when you look back and realize that the season you thought was destroying you was actually preparing you. You will understand why certain doors closed. You will understand why certain relationships ended. You will understand why some plans took longer than expected. Not every delay was denial. Some delays protected you from things you were not ready to handle. Some closed doors redirected you. Some disappointments prevented deeper pain. And some endings created room for beginnings you could not yet imagine. So do not spend the rest of your life mourning what did not happen. Be grateful for what it taught you. Release what you cannot change and place your attention on what you can still build. Your life is still being written. There are still conversations you have not had, places you have not seen, people you have not met, opportunities you have not discovered, and moments of joy you have not experienced. Do not allow yesterday to steal tomorrow. My beloved child, when you wake up each morning, remind yourself that you are not starting from nothing. You are starting from experience. You are starting with lessons. You are starting with greater awareness. You are starting with a heart that has survived things it once believed would destroy it. That means you are stronger than you realize, and when the next door opens, walk through it with gratitude instead of fear. When something good arrives, do not immediately expect it to disappear. When someone treats you well, do not assume you must earn their kindness through suffering. When an opportunity comes, do not reject yourself before you even try. Allow yourself to receive. Allow yourself to grow. Allow yourself to believe that good things can exist without constant chaos surrounding them. My child, the chapter ahead does not require perfection. It requires willingness. Willingness to learn. Willingness to change, willingness to forgive, willingness to begin again, willingness to trust that your life can become more peaceful than it has been. And when you stumble, do not call yourself a failure. Get back up, correct your direction, learn the lesson. Continue. You are not finished. The story is not over. Your past may explain where you came from, but it does not have permission to decide where you are going. So release the shame, release the comparison, release the fear of being too late, release the need to control every detail. Take what you have learned, place it in the hands of faith, and step forward. My beloved child, one day you will look back at this exact season and realize that you were closer to a new beginning than you thought. You will realize that the waiting was developing patience, the struggle was developing strength, and the uncertainty was teaching you to trust beyond what you could see. Until that day comes, keep moving, keep praying, keep believing, keep becoming. Do not chase what has already chosen to leave. Do not force what repeatedly destroys your peace. Do not return to places that required you to abandon yourself. Your future deserves a version of you who has learned from the past without remaining trapped inside it. The next chapter is not about proving everyone wrong. It is about becoming whole. It is about waking up with peace in your heart. It is about knowing your value without needing applause. It is about walking with purpose even when no one is watching. And when you finally realize how far you have come, you will understand something important. You were never as forgotten as you felt, never as behind as you believed, and never as finished as your circumstances made you think. So lift your head, my child. Take one more step, then another. Your journey continues. And whatever comes next, meet it with faith, wisdom, courage, and a heart that refuses to give up. The old chapter may have ended, but your story has not. Your healing is continuing. Your strength is growing. Your purpose is still alive, and there is still more ahead. Keep walking, my beloved child. Your best days do not have to be behind you. This is not the end, this is the beginning of what comes next. Amen.